During the last few episodes, we've been talking about reducing our fabric stashes, the goal being that our collection would then make us feel well stocked but not encumbered. But once you've selected the pieces that you can't honestly see yourself sewing, what are you going to do with them? There are a number of options, but fabric swaps have got to be one of the most fun and most ethical ways of passing on what you no longer want. You might even pick up some new to you fabric that you're inspired by, or even a couple of new sewing buddies. But if there aren't any fabric swaps taking place in your location already, it might be on you to organise one. My guest this week, Baruwa, is a maker who recently did just that for the very first time. I spoke with Nike before and after her fabric swap, and she shares what planning and considerations went into hers. And we'll hear how it actually went. If you're interested or even on the fence about planning a fabric swap, let Nike and this episode be your guide. So hang on a couple of minutes and we'll get into it. Welcome to Check Your Thread, the podcast that will help you sew more sustainably. My name's Zoe and I'm obsessed with sewing. I've been blogging about it for over 17 years. Yep, we've gone up a year. And I'm the creator and host of the popular handmade wardrobe challenge, Me Made May, that's going on right now. But I've become increasingly concerned about the climate and ecological crises, and I'm looking at the way that my lifestyle contributes to them. So in this podcast, I'll be nerding out about making clothes whilst exploring how to minimise the negative impact that it may have. I really hope you'll join me in this journey. Hi, lovely one. How's it going today? Thanks for choosing to hang out with myself and my guest Nike for a while. Have you had any sustainability wins of late? Personally, I've been doing a fair bit of second-hand sourcing for the things that my family could do with. A couple of episodes ago, I was talking about borrowing a cordless strimmer for my allotment. That was a lovely exchange, and although the strimmer's owner and I said we'd like to do it again, if you recall, I gave her some rhubarb, which she loved, I realised that I'm going to need to use a strimmer more often than I previously thought, more than is realistically feasible to arrange with this woman. So I did manage to find one to buy second-hand on Facebook Marketplace. Also this week, I realised that camping season for Cubs and Scouts that my kids attend is almost upon us. I did have 2 sleeping bags that they were using last year that I acquired second-hand, but annoyingly, towards the end of last year, I accidentally left them both on a train and they were never handed in. So this week, I found and bought 2 more second-hand sleeping bags via Facebook Marketplace as well. Not only does that mean that all those synthetic fibres will be staying in use for longer, and I haven't basically voted for new synthetic fibres to be produced by buying new sleeping bags, I also saved a chunk of money. But I'm not the only one accruing sustainability wins and saving money this week. Here is one from lovely Check Your Thread patron Louise. Louise writes, "My husband is a techie, but yesterday he excelled. Work updated my phone, but my car is so old the touchscreen to work the stereo had given up. This means I couldn't pair my phone to the car. No music, audiobooks, hands-free phone or podcasts. He dug deep into the tech information universe and managed to replace just the touch screen for about £30. A new stereo would have cost hundreds, and getting a garage to replace it would have been over £1,000. A bunch of tech waste saved from the bin and a very happy wife ready to listen to the new podcast. Such an awesome win. Congratulations, Louise and Mr. Louise." No new patrons to thank this week. However, I'm about to drop the dates for this month's mending meetups, which Check Your Thread patrons can attend. So if you've been meaning to sign up to the podcast and you like the sound of mending in community and having that accountability, then now is a great time to sign up. Just head to patreon.com/checkyourthread to sign up for any amount that makes sense for you. The Check Your Thread patrons have also been privy to a couple of exciting developments over the last week or so there are some sneaky peeks to enjoy as well when you sign up. So let's get stuck into this week's episode, which is the last in the 4-part mini-series on fabric stash reduction. We've done something slightly different this week, speaking to my guest twice before and after the event we're discussing. So I hope you enjoy this slightly different format. In case you're wondering, whilst listening, why you didn't hear me ask any follow-up questions when Nike said she wanted to add some more things to future events, we did talk about the things that Nike would add to future swaps, but we decided not to include that part of the conversation in case things didn't pan out. So you'll have to be on Nike's mailing list and wait for the announcement about next year's to find out what else, in addition to the swap, will be going on then. Also, head to the show notes to have a nose at some of the photos that were taken at the swap so you can get a sense of what it was like. So although this is officially the last episode in the stash reduction mini-series, next week's episode will be a replay of a very popular previous episode that whilst we've been making this mini-series, I keep thinking about because it would make a really good accompaniment to this topic. So until then, please take care of yourselves, your loved ones, and those who could do with some care. If there's anything you need to buy or replace, this is your reminder to see if you can get it second-hand. Or be like Mr. Louise and see if you can replace just part of it. And enjoy. Oh, this is brilliant. Thank you so, so much. So you've kindly agreed to talk to me today because I discovered via Instagram that you're organising a fabric swap in London that takes place this weekend. And I'm so excited to hear that, because I think fabric swaps are just such a great way to redistribute and acquire like second-hand textiles and sewing related stuff, which is awesome for those of us who try to sew more sustainably, isn't it? Because it reduces the need for virgin fabric and fibre production. And it's also a great option for those of us who are working on a tighter budget, isn't it? Because as we all know, like, good quality fabric by the metre is not cheap, is it?
It's so expensive, or it can be.
Exactly. So I just think it's such a win-win all round, and I'd love it if more people set up swaps in their own area, you know. So you're going to talk to me before and after your swap in the hopes that you can teach the rest of us some lessons about how to go about organising one in other areas of the country or the world. So to start, could you please let us know who you are, where you are, and what fills your days?
Oh gosh, okay. So my name is Baruwa. I'm based in London, in the UK. What fills my days? Other than sewing, I work within the probation service. I have a very large family who are all creative in some sort of way, and we're always on the phone. You know, I can speak to one of my sisters for 2 hours, have no idea what we've spoken about. I have a couple of sisters who knit, crochet, who sew. One's a makeup artist, another one's a musician. So there's a big creative sort of abundance around me. So if I'm not kind of going to a gallery, hanging out with friends or sewing, you'd probably find me on the phone with one of my siblings.
Oh, that's so nice. It sounds like you've got a really creative network around you.
Yeah, definitely. Very good for inspiration.
Awesome. So have you actually been to a fabric swap before?
It would be crazy if I hadn't.
It would be bold. It'd be bold.
Yes, it would. No, I have. But only a handful, probably less than a handful actually. So I've been to a couple within sewing shops themselves. And obviously I went to the very large London D-Stash fabric
Did you?
event.
I was there.
2024, wasn't it? Or 23?
Now it's that. I feel like there was two, wasn't there? I think the last one was 24. Yes. It was so good, yes. Wasn't it?
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. And that was definitely a bit of a motivator for me and an inspiration. So
with that one, what was your experience of it? Like, did you take a load of stuff? Did you bring a load of stuff back home?
No, well, I sort of went there with about 4 sort of fabric bundles, as it were, to kind of donate. And I just thought I get sustainability points if I come back with less, you know? I didn't quite work out, but what did happen is that what I bought, I used really, really quickly, which is very strange because I have a fabric stash and there's things that have been sitting there for years, but there was something about that. There was the inspiration, maybe there was sort of the motivation and just speaking to people about what I was going to sew with it. There's almost like a level of accountability, maybe.
Interesting. I found that too. The things that I brought home from the swap, I think I used all but one of them now, which is amazing. I was wondering if there was something about, there's almost no strings attached to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got this fabric and it doesn't have this kind of weight of this, oh, I had all these plans and I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think there's something, I don't know, because you're there and you're rummaging, you get to see the fabric, you get to feel it. And I think it's so easy to buy so much fabric online that maybe that's the kind of inspiration we need because we have it there, we can already imagine. And I think sometimes we can buy stuff offline and then kind of realise, oh, actually, it's not the colour, it's not quite the fabric. And then it sort of sits in the stash just, you know, and you're hoping to use it. But I think there's something about being there with all that kind of inspiration and other people talking about what you're going to sew and everything else. I think that kind of just makes it easier to sew. I think you're right. There's like less expectation.
Yeah. Did you go on your own to that one? Did you take one of your sisters?
I went on my own, and then I was all set to go to the next one, but obviously that hasn't happened. So I did go on my own and absolutely loved it, raved about it to my sister, and she was just like, yes, I'm ready, let's go, let's go.
Oh no, you talked it up and then there wasn't one.
I know. So yeah, I did go on my own, but it was really nice to talk to other people. Yeah, it was great.
It was so nice, wasn't it? There was such a lovely atmosphere.
Yes, completely. And I think for me, sewing's quite solitary. I'm not really connected into any sewing groups or anything like that. So the opportunity to talk about, I don't know, blind hem stitch or, something. I think people who don't sew, they can say to you, oh, did you make that? And you say yes. And that's pretty much where the conversation stops.
Or maybe like, can you make me one?
Yes. Or can you alter my trousers or...
Little costume.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So it's really nice to kind of talk about those intricacies and sort of laugh about weird sewist in-jokes.
Yeah, for sure. And there was definitely, I think, people weren't afraid to show their passion, like people weren't afraid to be like, oh, this is so exciting, and share that that excitement, which I think even in shops sometimes you don't tend to get. I don't know. It just felt like a bit more like a party in a way.
Yes, that's very much how it felt. And it was just so nice kind of seeing people, two people picking up the same piece of fabric and then discussing whether they were going to share it and how much, and, or whether they were going to leave it for the other person. And that sort of level of generosity was just nice to see as well.
Yeah, and I know that the organisers, they brought some scissors in case there was larger pieces and people wanted to share, which was a sort of really nice thing to do.
I must remember to put that on my list.
Okay, top tip. So was attending that fabric swap where the idea for your one came from?
Yeah, it was actually. Although weirdly, I'd sort of found an old advert for the one that had happened the year before.
Oh.
So I'd contacted Sarah from Olive Road and sort of said, are you doing another one? I'd love to come. And at that point I thought, well, if she says no, I might just do one, literally not really been to any at that point. And then when she came back and said yes, I kind of said, oh, I'd love to help. And although she didn't need my help, it was great to go. And then obviously, sadly, it's closed, and Craft, the venue for that has closed.
Which is heartbreaking because it was beautiful, wasn't it?
Yeah, and quite shocking and sad. It's kind of another artist area that's disappeared from London,
Absolutely.
And I just thought, maybe it's my time to do a fabric swap. Let me see. And so here we are, 4 days away.
Amazing. So when did you first decide to do it? How long has this been in the making?
Okay, so that initial thought a couple of years ago was like the tiny seed, but actually I started thinking about it at the end of last year. So kind of November time, I start reviewing my year and, what I've liked, what I want more of, and what the next year's how that's gonna look. And so one of the first things on the list was do a fabric swap. So yes, here we are.
And it's happened. Oh, wait, that's quite a quick turnaround, because I know that you've had this in place for a while, haven't you? Because I saw you advertising it. It was at least a month ago.
It's very early. I think I sent emails to some sewing groups and things probably in February, because I was looking at that this morning. And then I thought, I probably maybe need to slow this down and just maybe that's just a bit soon. So yeah, I slowed it down a bit. But yeah, it's kind of been rolling around for a while.
Did you find it tricky to find a suitable venue?
No, because I'd already decided.
Oh, okay. So tell me about the venue.
Oh, so the venue is the old mortuary, which doesn't sound great.
Go for a fun weekend.
No.
Where are you going?
Well, it's where Unwanted Fabric goes to die. Well, maybe not die. To
or be resurrected.
Revived. Exactly. So it's the old mortuary, which is a really beautiful little hall that is literally less than a 5-minute walk from where I live.
What a coincidence.
I know. Which is Rotherhithe Village. And I wanted it here because there is this sense of a village. There's, I kind of know the people at the shop and the pub, and it's sort of an elderly community space. But in the summer, all of a sudden, there'll just be this wedding because there's a beautiful St Mary's Church across the road, and then people have their reception in the old mortuary in Russell Hall, which is a very quaint, almost country cottage fete kind of look to it. So I'm just excited to be able to do that, and also support local business as well.
That's really nice. So you wanted more people to discover your area as well and see how nice it is.
Absolutely. I don't think many people know about Rotherhithe, and I just think I've been here 20 years, and for me, I'm sort of here, but just to my right is the Thames, I get that, and I get the sort of wildlife, and there's lots of sort of waterways and canals, and you've got, I was going to say forest, which is probably over egging the pudding a bit there, but a very nice park. Yes, a tree, just the one. So I love people to kind of find out a bit more about this area as well. And I think it's perfect for a fabric swap because it sort of allows people to, I don't know, go to a park and read a book and then come back to the fabric swap an hour later to see if anything new's turned up, or, go to the local coffee shop or the pub even.
Yeah. Have a little debrief after.
Exactly, and meet other people and then go and wander around the park or something and talk about what you plan to sew.
Oh, that sounds lovely. That sounds ideal. So tell me a bit more about like what sewing and how sustainability it kind of plays into that for you.
Yeah, so I guess for me in practice, it's such a tough question.
And I'm sorry. I was trying to keep it broad to be helpful, but maybe that wasn't very helpful. Sorry.
No. I think in practice for me in my sewing, it's very much about buying less, using natural fabrics, kind of trying to use natural buttons or vintage buttons, that kind of thing. Zips, I'm not quite sure how to avoid as such. And definitely the long term really for me is about being intentional about what I sew, not sewing trends, sewing for longevity. I want to sew something that if I gave it away, someone else would still want to wear it and it would last them a long time. Definitely want to master fit as well because that has a big part in terms of longevity. Yeah, I guess some of that stems from my foster parents were very much about valuing what I have and sewing, or not sewing, but investing in good quality clothes. And I feel that I've kind of gone through a fast fashion thing. What kind of shifted that was doing a no-buy for a year.
Wow.
And that really, it was kind of a strange thing because I started sewing in 2020 again. I've sewn on and off for years. And that was a bit of a mental health thing, I think. It kind of, starting to sew again. But I realised that I was sewing my own clothes but still buying fast fashion. And that doesn't align. For me, that just didn't align.
Yeah.
And I just kind of was at this place where I think I was returning lots of clothes that I didn't, tried on, didn't fit. And I just thought this just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you're putting all this work into one thing and then the other's quite kind of rapid and throwaway.
Yeah, very much so. And I think there was definitely some habit buying and emotional, dopamine hit kind of buying and all of that. And it was just like, I think the only way I'm going to be able to not do this is to just not buy for a year. And so I didn't buy clothes for a year. And that just really shifted. But then what happened within that was I started buying fabric.
I'll be honest, I think I saw that coming.
Yeah. So I then, about 3 or 4 months into the no-buy, I really then had to lay down some rules about fabric buying and why and what I was buying. So the sustainability thing, I think, for me comes from that place, that kind of overconsumption, working out the why in terms of why we sew or why we buy, and also putting a bit of a stop in between the I want and I get, which can be really quick. And I think, like for me, clothes sewing is activism. I think for whatever reason you do it, I feel that it is activism in a way. But as I said, it then doesn't quite align if we're over-consuming. So for me, the kind of buying fabric and buying a lot of it, some of that fabric still has the same supply chain as fast fashion.
Yeah.
There's probably still someone being exploited somewhere.
Yeah, I think a lot of sewers don't necessarily make that connection, that just because you're doing the garment construction part, it all still comes from the same place, really, in terms of the materials, doesn't it?
Yeah, and with some of the same inherent issues. And so for me, it then seems completely, I don't know, what's the word? I guess.
Yeah, kind of at odds.
Yeah, and then even more at odds to kind of then maybe throw away fabric you don't want, or sew things that you're possibly not going to wear. For me, that's kind of that doesn't align.
Yeah. Was I think what you were saying about making clothes as activism, I think a big part of activism is intention, isn't it? And then if you are not being intentional throughout the process of making, then does it really feel like activism? Is it really expressing that?
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well, the environment we live in terms of social media and how that can play into how people sew, what they sew, the speed at which they sew, has a big impact on that kind of consumerism and potential waste as well, which I think, again, I love the Instagram sewing community. There's so much inspiration, and just I'm always in awe about how people can turn one thing into another and upcycle. And then then there is that posting for the gram as well. And I think that's a whole other issue. It's probably a whole other podcast, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no, but it's something I definitely think about a lot as well, because it is, when you post, you are contributing to the community, aren't you? And you are generating, or you're creating an opportunity for discussion and interaction, and that's lovely. But it comes with with having to make something first, or often starts that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, very much so. And I kind of, I think that I find it can be quite overwhelming, because there's like, oh my gosh, should I be posting? Oh, I made something. Should I post that? No, I don't want to.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but for me, it's like, if I haven't taken a photograph yet, I don't really want to wear it properly yet, in case I wreck it before I've taken a photo.
That's a bit like, not taking the tag off a new garment or something, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. Like, just wear the thing. I'm like, no, it's not real until I've taken a photo.
I know that feeling. I end up having to wash most of the new things because they've got marks on them from Mark making chalk marks and things like that anyway. But then it's never as crisp, Crisp. So I understand.
Why is that? It's so silly. Okay, maybe we could work on that.
Yes, I think we have to.
Amazing. So the fabric swap is kind of an extension of your being more intentional with your fabric acquisition and helping other people do the same, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been, my history as a probation officer and kind of volunteering and lots of other things. I've always kind of been of service. And it's like really nice to sort of be physically and mentally able to do that again. And for me, it just kind of felt like a natural thing to do for a sewing community. It was like, okay, I can do this. Why not?
Oh, I love that. Okay, so what does your fabric stash look like? And what are you going to be taking to the swap?
Oh, gosh.
A lot? A little?
Quite a bit. I was going to say at least 10. I say 10 metres, but it's probably about 15, to be honest. I say that doesn't sound a lot.
I know it does. It does, because I know what that would look like stacked up. That's quite a lot.
I can sort of see it behind me in a way, because it is sitting behind me.
Metaphorically and literally, it's there.
Yes. From what I was saying earlier, there's definitely a sense of, like, my relationship with my fabric stash is a bit shame and guilt in some respects around overconsumption and things like that. And also recognising how fast I sew as well. Like I said, that kind of I need to buy fabric is much quicker than my ability to sew that fabric. So yeah, I love what I have there, but I think the quantity of it is a bit like,
Yeah. Is there issues around storage? Like, is there like because we live in the south of the UK. Space is at a premium, isn't it? So is there an aspect to that, do you think, of like, it's got to fit?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's part of the reason that it stopped me, because there's only so much you can, kind of under the sofa, in drawers,
There's only so many nooks and crannies in the southeast.
Exactly. I can't be scraping mortar out of the bricks and trying to shove fabric in there if I'm not careful. Yes. Insulation.
Jigs. Do you know what I was thinking? Like, like making draft excluders, just rolling your fabric up around the bottom of your doors.
And that's how I store it and just gradually unfold it over the years as it gets thinner and thinner.
You could create like poofs and sofas and just piles of fabric.
It's just everywhere.
It's just your furniture.
It's just like pillows, 70 pillows on the sofa, just to kind of... Yeah. Yes, in the south of England, I don't have much space. So I am really mindful of that. Because I think as well, for me, my lounge, it's my work from home desk, it's my sewing desk, it's, space is tight. So, I've sort of done my initial sweep, I guess. And then I'm going to do another one because there's always those fabrics that are a bit, don't know. But there's also, I think there's one fabric that might not make it to the swap.
That's okay. You can do another swap in the future if you change your mind.
That's true. But it's so funny. Talking about Instagram, I was doing a post and I was sort of holding up some of the fabrics I was going to take with me. And when I watched the video back, I was like, oh, that looks really good. I was like, that looks great with my skin tone.
You really sold it back to yourself.
Yes. So I was like, we'll see. But the pile kind of contains some linens, some Liberty fabrics, kind of things that I thought almost I should buy.
Oh, interesting. Tell me about that. So the kind of things that a lot of people in the online sewing community might gush over.
Yes, yeah. And I think it was also not exactly knowing my own style when I bought those fabrics.
Sure.
So they were sort of, oh my gosh, it's a linen, I'll buy it. And then, and then it's like, it was kind of like a blue, cream and red stripe, which is, I love stripes, but it's definitely not my kind of stripe, if I can be that specific. So linens, cottons, so pretty much all natural fabrics except for a very bright pink viscose.
Awesome. Okay. Are you allowing yourself to take allowing is a ridiculous word, but for want of a better word, a similar meterage if you see stuff that you like?
No.
No.
It's a no. 2 no's. Yeah, because it would have to be really special if I found something. But I think maybe my own fabric swap is possibly more of a donation of fabric rather than a kind of swap. I don't need any more fabric, and I think my intention this year is to sew what I have.
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So when you were organising the fabric swap, aside from going to the one that Sarah organised, and it sounds like you've been to some others as well, what research did you do for how to run one? And are there any resources that you found that were useful?
I would say Sarah's video on YouTube was it's so detailed. Yeah, it was brilliant. It kind of had some elements in there that I hadn't even thought of, which was, what about leftover fabric, which hadn't even dawned on me, to be honest.
Yeah, because you just think, it's all going to go.
Yeah.
But the fact is, everybody is probably also thinking, I want to make sure I go home with less than I've taken. So that maths doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't. And you already know I live in a very small flat. So actually, it's not like I could store it for the next one or anything like that.
Sure, yeah.
So it was really nice to kind of go, okay, so then who would need fabric that I could donate to them? So in that resource, Sarah talks about trying to work out where the leftover fabric goes before you even decide to do the fabric swap, which I think is really good advice.
So what have you figured out what you're going to do with the unclaimed fabric?
So the local junior school is more than happy to take some. My local FE college as well, where I actually did a lot of evening classes around sewing and draping, they'd like to have some. And I need to double check, there's a refugee charity in Southwark, so all of these are within Southwark as well. They would like to have some as well, so I just need to double check that is what they want. And I've got a few more on a list, but I don't want to over-promise and under-deliver.
Sounds amazing. Oh, fantastic. So obviously there's no one set way that a fabric swap should run, but what are the rules, for want of a better word, that you've set for yours?
I think similar to Sarah's, I didn't set any, really, because I kind of just didn't want to overcomplicate it for the first one. I think I need to just see what it looks like on the day in real life and then decide when I do another one if I do need to add rules. So really the only thing is to label your fabric for other people if you can, because that's just really helpful.
Yeah.
And then also just be mindful about what you take home, and that you're taking home things that you know that you will use. And that's kind of it.
So I saw that you have chosen to use Eventbrite to ticket the event. So why did you decide to use Eventbrite, and how many people are you hoping, or how many people have signed up so far, and how many people are you generally hoping that will turn up?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, the venue holds 70 people, but that's 70 seated. I think there's definitely something in, I've been to fabric swaps where there's sort of a handful of people around a table, or just me initially, and then one other person. And then obviously on the other side, it is kind of the London D-Stash, which is, a couple of hundred people, I think.
I couldn't even get to the patterns. There was no way.
No, they were in that corner. There was sort of a bit like when you're trying to buy something at the bar.
Yeah, you could have moved around it a bit more, but that was, I give up. I don't need more patterns.
Exactly. I had a sort of brief look early, and then that was it.
Then chaos.
So there are tickets at the door. I would like 50 people to come. That would be awesome. I don't think it will be that. It's really difficult, because I think when you do an event or anything like this, I think for me, I just don't want people to come away being disappointed.
Right, of course.
But then there's also something in understanding and kind of giving myself grace about, actually, it's the first event I've ever done. I don't have a Instagram following. I don't have anything else. It's actually me just kind of going, I could do a fabric swap. Okay, so how do I do that? So using Eventbrite, again, was sort of something Sarah had kind of mentioned about ticketing and things like that. And obviously when you rent a venue, there's a cost to that as well. So it's kind of ticketing in that way. But also I don't have a way of payment on the door. Mm-hmm. So it kind of makes it easier, actually, if it's on somewhere like Eventbrite, that people can still buy tickets up until 2:00 on the day.
Yeah, because you're not a business yourself, are you? You've not necessarily got like a Zettel or some sort of card machine or something.
No, exactly. And, cash, people would probably just look at me like I was,
What's cash?
very old. Yes, exactly. So, yeah, I think Eventbrite's kind of for convenience, really. Although I do kind of look at Eventbrite and think I would love to use a different sort of mechanism, just a smaller company to support. I think I would like to do that.
But the thing about Eventbrite is it does have that promotional aspect to it as well, doesn't it? Like, it can list your event for people who are looking for events in your area.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't used that, though.
Oh, okay, well, maybe that's for next time.
Yes, thank you.
But I mean, I don't know, it'd be very niche. Like, you'd have to get in front of somebody who's already into sewing otherwise. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I think the strange thing is, I don't see a lot of fabric swaps.
That's about to change after this episode.
But yeah, it's just, I hope it does, because I just think it's a really vital resource.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not, no, what I loved about the way that Sarah approached it, and she talked about it, and the way she made that blog post and she made the YouTube video, like, you don't have to be like protective or precious about it, because it's not your business as such, is it? It's about providing something for the sewing community, and you can only be in one place, really, can't you? Like, it's up to somebody in Birmingham to do one in Birmingham, it's up to somebody in Edinburgh to do one in Edinburgh and stuff.
Exactly. And there is fabric in all of those places that does need swapping. It's definitely not a shortage. So
yeah,
I think, there's room for everyone, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you made it like almost like a yearly thing, because when I went with my friend Catherine to the London D-Stash, we said to each other, by next year, because we wanted to go this year if there'd been one this year, and we said to ourselves, like, if there's anything we've taken that we haven't used from this swap, we will bring it back next year. So
nice.
I'm hoping, that people might think of it like that it can move. It can, it doesn't have to be with you if it turned out it wasn't something that you wanted to use.
Yeah, I really like that idea, actually, because otherwise then, it just sort of adds to the sitting in the back of the drawer with no sort of inspiration attached to it, I guess. Yeah. I like
Awesome.
that idea.
So are you going to have like different tables with like for different lengths, or what's the plan with that?
Yeah, I am, just because, again, that's easiest for people to be able to kind of rummage thinking, I'd like to make a top. And then they know they just need to look at kind of the 1 metre plus or whatever. And so, there's hopefully I think 3 tables, just with different fabric lengths, and then a space for haberdashery.
Oh, brilliant.
But I am hoping that the weather's good enough that we can do this all outside, because there's a little garden.
Oh.
So, yeah, that would be quite nice.
Oh, that's nice. Cool. I love that you're not relying on that because we're in the UK.
No, I've been keeping a quite close eye on the weather.
I bet you have.
And a couple of days ago it looked okay, and then when I looked today, Saturday's supposed to rain, so, you know.
Yeah, it's all to play for.
Exactly.
Oh, amazing. Awesome. Well, that's everything that I have to ask you this side of the event. So all that's left for me to say is a massive good luck. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful event. Thank you for putting this on. Thank you so much for talking to me. I'm really excited to hear how it goes.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me. It's been like a real honour to kind of be on Check Your Thread, and yeah, I'm excited to kind of come back and share with everyone how it went, and hopefully I might have more ideas to kind of help other people to do their own fabric swap.
Wonderful. Thank you so, so much. Wishing you all the best.
You.
So you had a fabric swap.
I did have a fabric swap. Woohoo!
As you know,
Yes.
I've been desperate to ask you lots of questions, but kind of
I know.
trying also not to, because I really want to hear everything now. So,
Oh dear.
so generally speaking, how did it go?
I think it went really well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it went really well because everyone I spoke to said they enjoyed it. They loved the space. They liked the hall. They liked the fact that they could sit and chat. And it was just really nice seeing people get into the room, kind of wander around, sit outside. You know, my friend baked cake.
Oh, cake's never bad.
No, exactly. And I say used to be a chef. I don't think you ever stopped being a chef. So, you know, he made a couple of really nice cakes, and yeah, the weather was great as well.
This was going to be one of my very first questions. Like,
Yes,
did the
okay.
weather hold up? Because I know that you were hoping to maybe even host the swap outside. Like, did you go that far?
No, I didn't go that far, but what I was able to do was open the back windows of this gorgeous hall into it's a garden area with a really old wisteria.
Oh.
So this purple marine mauvey wisteria was out, smelt beautiful, you know, and my neighbour who popped in, she just kind of said, I have not seen the wisteria this good. You know, it's like, yes, it's on form. It's on form for me.
It's a good year for wisteria. I've been seeing it everywhere,
Yes.
and it's like stunning this year.
Yes, exactly. And there's so much in this area I kind of forget. So, yeah, it was really gorgeous to kind of people just sitting in the sunshine, chatting to other people about creative stuff. And yeah.
Oh, that was your hope, wasn't it? That people would connect and chat about sewing and stuff. That's so good.
Yeah.
So let's talk numbers. You were hoping for
Yes.
around 50 people. What happened?
There were 42 in the end.
Yay! Amazing.
Yeah, and it was a really nice kind of. There were people, you know, there were people that came at 11 and didn't leave until 3, which was when we closed, you know.
Oh, wow. They made a day of it.
Yes, exactly. And one of those people, you know, they're not even a sewer.
They're just here for the cake.
Yeah, right. They were a photographer and they took some really great photos. But yeah, you know, it was just so nice that it was just such a really chilled atmosphere. Yeah, it was brilliant.
Amazing. So did you have the fabric set out on different tables according to length? Or how did it look?
Yeah, well, it kind of surprisingly all went to plan in that. So I literally drew a floor plan, because I had a couple of friends who were coming to help me set up, and I thought rather than trying to explain it, if I draw it, stick it on the wall, we all know what we're working towards. So we were just all able to kind of do that really quickly. And so we had a table for 1 meter, and then a table for 2 to 3, and then 3 to 4, I think. So yeah, it was, yeah, all of that was set out, and then there was a table for haberdashery as people walked in and things like that. So yeah.
Oh,
that
amazing.
worked.
So good. So you were saying that when you attended the London D-Stash swap in 2024, you came on your own. Did you see that there were people coming this time like they were coming on their own, or was there like friends or family members or?
There were a few kind of groups, but I'd say the majority of people came on their own. And I think the good thing about Eventbrite was actually it allowed me to see that.
Ah, of
So you
course.
can see if someone's booked 2 tickets or not. Although there were people that turned up in groups and obviously they'd booked separate tickets. But that made me kind of understand. I wanted people to feel welcome.
Yeah.
So it meant, okay, I have to remember to greet people and go and find people if they're kind of looking a little bit hesitant and just kind of bring them in and introduce them to someone or something like that. So yeah, yeah.
Sounded like you're an amazing host.
Oh, I don't know. I feel there were times where I was running around. Yeah, there's times I was running around like a headless chicken, and people were very great in like just being gracious, I think. And people that turned up early were really lovely and offered to help set up, because I was thinking we're going to run a bit late, and I sort of went out and said, could you just give us 5 more minutes? And they're like, we can come and help. And I was like, give me 5 minutes. If we're not ready, then yes, please.
And then help.
But, yeah.
Yeah, both.
Yes. Yes.
So were there any attendees that you knew, like anyone that you recognised from other places, or?
Yeah, I had 3 friends to help, which was great, and they all kind of left at various times. I met a couple of Instagram friends, so that was really nice to meet people in person that you sort of had little bits of conversation with. So that was really nice to meet people. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. So, okay, let's talk fabric. So how much did they bring? Like, did it look like a good amount for the number of people that attended?
Yeah, I think there was a substantial amount. I don't think anyone left unless they deliberately meant to without anything, if that made sense.
Yeah.
Some people, because I was kind of curious and sort of said, oh, are you leaving with more stuff than you bought? Or, and it was a mixed bag. It was a mixed bag. There was plenty of fabric. And actually, you asked me before how much fabric I was going to take. So it made me actually, count. And it was 25 metres of fabric in the end that I took to the swap.
Ah, because you were planning 10 to 15, so...
That's what I thought.
Was a conservative
and I probably... Yes, yeah. I think even that 10 to 15, I don't think I actually... What I thought was 10 to 15, I don't think I actually added much more after that. So I think I just have a poor idea of us, guesstimating fabric bundles. So yeah, which is a lot. But what was really nice was seeing other people. I could see people pick it up, and then, or I'd be asking people, oh, so what did you pick up? And then they'd bring out one of the fabrics that I donated. I'm like, oh, good, that's one of mine. What are you planning? And it was nice to kind of have that exchange. And sometimes I'm sort of left thinking, maybe I should have thought about making that with that fabric,
Oh, brilliant. So what did you take home? Anything?
Oh, my goodness. I took a metre of black and teal striped cotton, some buttons, and as I was packing up, I saw this gorgeous navy blue sequined fabric.
Ooh.
That's going to be a very simple shift dressy type thing, but it was just, it was calling my name.
It was like, hello, I'm Russell.
Yes.
I'm Russell dazzling over here.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, look, I'm shining. Look at me.
That's I love that. That was like a little kind of special gift at the end for all your hard work.
Yeah, exactly. Like the gold pot at the end of the rainbow. Yeah.
So were you left with a lot of fabric at the end?
Not as much as I was expecting, actually. So I think I'm trying to work out bag size. So think of bags that you would buy knee-high boots in, and you'd get them from the shop, and they'd put them in.
This is all like. Can we do like? I know. Can we do like bags for life?
Yeah. Okay. So if a bag for life was a bag for life plus an extra 50%, there's probably 5 of those.
Okay.
I don't know why I said it in that way. I could have just worked out bags for life.
7.5 bags for life.
Yeah, and it actually isn't. I think it's about... Yeah, no, that's about right.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's fairly manageable. So where did you take it, or is it still... Are you sitting on it?
No. It is downstairs in our communal common room, so that's fine. So I'd contacted 3 organisations. So it was the local further education college, I haven't heard back from them, although I kind of said, I have the fabric for you. They haven't come back to me. So I'm like, oh, okay, where next? So there's my local junior school, which is literally a 5-minute walk. I popped in and gave them some fabric and said, look, I do have more. So if you want more, here's my email. And I got a message from the head teacher saying, thank you very much for your generous donation. We would love some more. So I just want to work out, when I kind of packed the bag knowing it was going to the school, I wanted to put things in there that would be relevant. So maybe, you know, like big fabric that could be used as a backdrop or something for costumes or something Christmas related or Eastery or, you know, like crafty. So I just want to hear back from them to see if there's anything they want specifically that I can maybe put into the next bag that I take to them.
Nice.
And then the other is an asylum seekers day centre. So I'm just waiting to hear back from them in terms of how much they want.
Oh,
yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, I hope that I hope that it all gets claimed and it doesn't cause you a headache of having this fabric.
No, it will get claimed, like determined. But also, actually, I just want to say, someone who came to the fabric swap emailed me later and said, if you still have leftover fabric, here are 2 organisations that would love it.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so if I still kind of struggle to kind of donate it within this area, within Southwark, then I think these 2 are in Bethnal Green, which isn't far. So I'll catch a train or a bus up there and drop it off.
Oh, that's helpful. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you weren't left with too much, because that was the kind of whole point, wasn't it? It was to redistribute it amongst people who love to sew.
Yeah, exactly. And definitely for people who can't always afford, you know, to buy fabric.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so was there any surprises? Like, was there anything that went on or didn't go on that you were surprised about?
No, everything kind of went to plan, really. I think a few patterns arrived, which I wasn't wanting to, I guess, deal with in a way, because I wasn't sure how that would then go in terms of donating it to other charities.
Yeah.
But I want to work out how maybe I can do that in some way, because it feels like a lot of people need and would like some sort of pattern swapping thing. And someone on Instagram called On Glowing, I had so many names and I've forgotten them, so frustrating, turned up with almost a suitcase of buttons.
Oh.
And we set up another table and they had like cake stands with button jars, and they've just so many buttons.
How did
Amazing.
they end up with so many buttons?
They just, you know, I asked and they said, you know, like other people have things about, you know, certain fabrics, or, you know, people, I don't know, like knitting needles or something. For them it's just buttons, and they've just collected loads of buttons.
Right. Were they like kind of, did they buy them new? Were they like vintage?
A mix. So there were some that was, you know, there were only a couple of each or something, and then there were buttons in those old sandwich pate jars. Do you know that specific kind of
I
weird?
Do.
Yeah, yes.
I really do.
I know, it's like a blast from the past. I was like, oh my gosh, I like grew up on that in my sandwiches, like the tuna pate or something. Yeah. So is it they were all kind of in those jars, and she also had a whole bag of spare jars, so people could then decant them and like take them home in a jar. So that was amazing.
So was no one allowed to leave without buttons?
Yeah, I think the great thing was, you know, people would pick up fabric and then they could just go to the button stand if they were thinking, and just be like, oh,
That's
yeah, these go.
amazing.
Yeah.
So did that person take the buttons back again? With what was
they
left?
Did, yes.
So you're not
and
left
they
with
are
a suitcase of buttons to distribute?
No, not at all. Because I think they do want to get rid of quite a few of them. So I did kind of speak to them about like where they could donate.
Were you left with a lot of haberdashery?
No.
Oh, good.
No. A few reels of things, some sequin kind of...
Oh, that could go to the school, I'm sure.
It did go to the school. Yes, I was like, they'll love these.
Okay, so is there anything that you would do differently if you were to organise another fabric swap?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. There's things I would add.
Oh.
But not anything I would do differently. There's some ideas I have that I think would be really useful and beneficial for people who want to come to a fabric swap.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of not explaining it because I'm trying to keep it secret. So this is going to sound like complete gobbledygook.
I will cut this bit out. This will be hot takes for next year.
Between you and me. Yes, exactly.
But that leads to the inevitable question, will there be another fabric swap?
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Nah. It was great, but nah.
No. I'm just like, just thinking. And
nailed it. Don't need to do another.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm actually really excited to do another one.
Oh,
yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think it will be the same time next year, which worked really well. What I'd sort of forgotten is that the day after was the London Marathon, which is kind of a really good time to do an event in London because kind of all the train lines are running. Like they're not, because people still need to do stuff before the day and people need to get around. So yeah, that's my understanding anyway. This is what I'm putting out there. So yeah, and it's also the start of summer. It was a nice day. This is probably a good time. It's not too into summer and it's not too hot. So
Wisteria
I'm kind
looking
of,
great.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we need the backdrop. Yes, exactly. So, yeah, and I think more chairs and tables in the garden, that kind of thing. And lots of people say, when is the next event? When's the next event? Is it this year? And I had thought I might do 2 a year. Mm-hmm. But I just thought I want to do so many other things to add to the one next year.
Nice.
I would like to do an event. Like, I would like to have people be more sociable around sewing and things like that. I don't really know how that looks. But, people were willing to hear about that. So, that's
Lovely.
A good thing.
Were you collecting any email addresses or anything, or just saying follow me on Instagram or?
Yeah, I did. So when I printed out the Eventbrite, attendees list, I added an extra kind of column to say, would you like to hear more about a newsletter, events, that kind of thing. So, but it will, I just kind of have to see how it unfolds really, because it's about being able to do these things and do them in a way that they're sustainable, and that's like energy sustainable. And, I don't want to, and one of the things is I don't really want to be on Instagram in that way either, to be honest.
Exciting. So that said, if people are interested in attending your one next year, how can they get on your list?
So, talking about Instagram. So
Go on Instagram.
On Instagram, yeah, exactly. There is a link on Instagram.
Right.
Because the thing is as well, what I want to do is all of those that came to this fabric swap, I want to be able to give them kind of first dibs on the next one.
Nice.
So actually tickets will kind of go out there, and then Instagram will kind of be the last place that I put things on. So a newsletter is going to be, signing up to that is going to be the best way to find out about events. I mean, the thing is as well, your inbox is not going to be full.
It's going to be one announcement.
Yeah, exactly. One every 6 months. Yeah.
Brilliant.
But yeah, it would be really nice to sort of have people interact and actually kind of get to know each other in that way. That would be really lovely. So yeah.
Oh, lovely. I will put that link in the show notes. So for people who want to get on your not too intense mailing list.
Yes.
And also for people who aren't on Instagram as well.
Yes, exactly. Because we definitely had a couple of people that weren't on Instagram, and also as well kind of weren't happy to pay by card or get a ticket on the door.
Right.
Via Eventbrite. So we kind of had to work out a cash alternative and things like that. So, there are people that aren't connected in the world in that way for the reasons that, for their values and everything, which I completely understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. I'm so happy.
Yeah, it was really good. And it was nice that a few people kind of went away saying, oh, I want to do a fabric swap. I'm like, yes, let me know. I don't mind helping, absolutely. I just think the world is a big place. London is a big place. And actually, I'm kind of still surprised how few fabric swaps there are. There just don't seem to be any. And they don't have to be big, and they don't have to be an event. It could, be at your local school, or, it can just be a local affair. It doesn't have to be a big thing. even amongst friends,
Absolutely. Yeah, it can literally be. It could be any size, any shape. So, do you have anything? I mean, you've given so much information about how you went about yours and all the considerations that you went through. Is there anything else that you've got that you would like to share with somebody who's interested in, or maybe they're on the fence about hosting their own one?
Yeah, do it. Just do it. There is definitely something, like, I'm not going to lie, it definitely pulled me out of my comfort zone. But within that, it got me more connected into a community that I've lived in for 20 odd years. I kind of know people more now rather than just seeing their faces. I actually, have conversations with people and all of that kind of thing, and I think that's really important just for us as human beings to have that kind of connection. And if fabric is going to be your kind of superhuman shield to kind of create that connection, which is probably a little bit for me, yeah, I'd say get out of your comfort zone. And if that's difficult, grab a friend to do it. You definitely do not have to do it on your own.
That's such a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Thank you so much. Well, I'm definitely going to get there next year for sure.
You have a ticket with your name on.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you, Zoe.
Thanks so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this episode and are left feeling inspired. For more info about the podcast, including show notes for this and every episode, head to checkyourthread.com. I'd love to hear from you, so if you have any comments, questions or ideas for future episodes, please get in touch by emailing zoe@checkyourthread.com or find me on Instagram @checkyourthread. Massive thanks to Patrick Potter for production support, to Sylvia Seller for the awesome logo design, and to Simon at Palm Skin Productions for the music. This ad-free podcast would not be possible without listener support, so if you feel you are able, please consider signing up to the Check Your Thread Patreon. For the equivalent of buying me a coffee each month, you'll be making it possible to continue producing regular episodes. Links can be found in the show notes and on the website checkyourthread.com. I hope you'll listen again next week. Until then, take care. Bye!